If you want to call me a podcaster, great. If you want to call me an interviewer, also great. If you want to call me just an explorer of human beings and their souls, that's great too.
Yeah. What's also fascinating is that, so it sounds like you got the first 20 in the backlog really quick, and you had Gary Vee on episode 39.
Mm-hmm.
So you had him on very early in your journey. And from what I understand, that was the first that was the first podcast you did video. Up to that point, it was audio only. Can you tell us that story about like how you got him on, what that was like for you, that entire experience? Because that's a huge hit to get really early on in your podcasting journey. And I would be shitting a brick if that was episode 39. But you seem like you're very poised, so I could see you not shitting a brick at the same time. But yeah.
Dude, it was the biggest hit of a drug that I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
Like, it was insane. And particularly because of the way in which it happened was so crazy. It was like, I believe December 4th, 2020, I put out a list of my dream guests. And I believe one of them was Andy Frisella. It was Jocko, Mike Posner, people who are still dream guests of mine to this day. And one of them was Gary Vee. And what happened was, because I had spent so much time and energy building this podcast and tweeting about it so much, that people were like, yo, like, Gary Vee, you should come on this podcast. But there was also a couple of interesting things that I did. One was I went back and I looked at a blog that I wrote in 2009 about Gary Vee. And I tweeted, hey, Gary Vee, you know, like, I've been a fan since I was 13 years old. Like, I could spot talent since I was a young kid. And I tweeted that blog post that I wrote in 2009. When I tweeted that blog post, he then followed me. When he followed me, then I tweeted that he followed me. And then people went crazy because I was like, this is a huge day for me. And so it was that sequence of events that made that happen. It wasn't that I just tweeted the dream guest list, which I've said in other podcasts and I've said to people before because that makes more sense and can help. But the nuance of those story is like, I did specific things to make that happen. And I think that it's like and there's an important lesson there to be learned, is like the speed of implementation. So 9 a.m., I make that tweet about dream guests. By 10 a.m., I'm putting out and bring that blog post to the forefront. By 12 and by noon, I'm then tweeting that he followed me. So it's like that whole thing happened very quickly. And then that chain of events led to him at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. agreeing to come on.
Wow.
And so imagine, like, I don't know, you have like 5,000 or 6,000 followers on Twitter and this is all going on. I lost my mind. Like, I couldn't sleep that night. Like, I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, I just did this shit again. Like, by again, I mean, I was 15 years old interviewing NBA players. I just did this with one of the biggest business icons in the world. And I just used the power of the internet. What the hell is going on? Like, there's something different here. There's something different happening. Like, this is God's plan. Like, I was like at a loss for words.
I think the power of the internet is something I did not understand at all until we started doing this. The ability to connect with people through Twitter is so powerful, and it can come at kind of these random moments when you don't expect anything to happen. The amount of guests that we've pulled from Twitter, I think from an outsider looking in, if you're interested in starting a podcast, being able to leverage a medium like Twitter or a blog to get the attention of people who you might want to have on a podcast is massive. And you've done that time and time again. We've done it. And then to kind of build on that, you had Gary on the show, but now you're heading to his conference. So you've clearly kept his attention further than just, you know, come on my podcast and you know, we'll record an episode and then see you later.
Well, that's an important piece too, is that for some people and for a previous version of myself, that was the Super Bowl and that would have meant it's over after this.
Right.
For me, at this point in my life, because I'd built the habits of doing 75 hard, because I'd been meditating, I was like, all right, job's not finished. This is step one. And this is when the work begins. Gary talks all the time about how when you actually achieve the thing, it's like, that's when the real work begins.
Totally.
It's like Andy comes on the podcast, Andy Frisella. It's like, all right, now there's a network of people who are now open to me that previously never were. Now the work begins again. So that's why I think it's so important to be playing a game that you want to actually win and that you want to actually stay in, because you're going to win and you're going to be required to do more work. So it's like, play a game that you actually enjoy playing, because if you don't, when you achieve the thing, you're going to be sitting there being like, oh, damn, I got to do more now.
Mhm.
But I'm excited to do more because I love podcasting. I love learning about people's stories. So it's like, find that game that is exciting to you and that you want to keep playing even after you hit what you think right now is the pinnacle.
You kind of perfectly led into my next question, because one of the things I was going to say to you is you are one of, if not the most well-networked connectors that I personally know. And I thought that it would be really cool for the audience just to learn a little bit of insight into your mind about how you think about punching above your weight, getting amazing guests, or just like connecting with really interesting people. It sounds like Twitter has been a large part of your strategy. It's like if LinkedIn could actually tap into what Twitter is, it would be fucking bananas. No one knows this. But yeah, it would be an amazing, but I would love to just like kind of unpack that, because I'm sure you've thought about that multiple times, because you're continually going to the well and now getting 3 stellar guests every single week.
Yeah, man. I think what's crazy is that great people know great people, and everyone wants to refer and help you out if they know that you're willing to invest in yourself, right? Like, and I just continue to show up for myself time and time again, meaning like I'm putting out 3 episodes a week, and then someone refers me to Andy Frisella because they're like, oh, I actually really like this guy and I see how much work he's putting in for himself. So that's a key piece of it. Like, are you doing the work to be the person that gets the referral? But another piece of it is like, when I realized that my actual advantage was the people that I knew and my connections, I started taking that a lot more seriously than I ever had before. And that means like remembering someone's birthday if you can, like sending them a gift, bringing them, trying to do nice things for people with no expectation. It's like all these little things that I'd previously never thought about or considered until I realized that my unique advantage was just the people that I knew. And so if that is actually the case, then you nurture that, then you care about people at another level. And I always care about people. Like, I cared about people since I started doing phone calls with them. But then you're like, that's what I'm offering the world. Like, another example of this is I started realizing that I'm offering the world my questions. Like, that's one of the skills that people are coming to me for. So because of that, I then create a list in my phone of great questions to ask, which I'll share with you guys if you're curious, and I tweet about sometimes. But it's just like when you realize your unique advantage, double down on that, triple down on that. There are things that you're good at right now, that someone listening, that you should be thinking about and being like, how do I get even better at this thing that I'm naturally inclined to do?